I stayed kneeling, rag in hand, as pastel frosting smeared across the white marble tile beneath me. Laughter drifted through the kitchen, soft, sugary, and rehearsed. Then my daughter-in-law's voice cracked the air like a whip. "Lazy old woman, clean faster!" The plate hit my knuckles before I could flinch. My son stood frozen near the gift table, watching but saying nothing. After raising him, funding their wedding, helping them buy this house, I wasn't a mother anymore, just the hired help. Just the mother-in-law they'd already written out of the picture. Before we begin, may I ask, where in this big, beautiful world are you listening from? It's always a quiet honor to know who's sharing this space. Drop it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. The cupcake landed frosting side down, a pastel splatter of buttercream against Sadie's white marble floor. Ellie dropped to her knees with a rag, fingers trembling as she wiped in slow, patient circles. She could hear the chatter of the party continuing around her, the clink of mimosa glasses, fake laughter, the clatter of heels against tile. No one offered to help, not even Ryan. She kept her eyes down. She'd learned a long time ago that humiliation felt sharper when you looked people in the eye while they delivered it. "Lazy old woman, clean faster!" The room snapped quiet. The words crashed against the chatter like a dish thrown against a wall. Ellie's shoulders locked. Frosting still clung to the edge of the baseboard. She dabbed at it with the cloth. Sadie's heels clicked toward her, deliberate and loud. There was venom in each step. Ellie stayed knelt, rag in hand, still wiping. A few guests stood frozen near the mimosa bar. Someone held their phone up, not discreetly. Recording, the click of a camera shutter. Sadie loomed above her in a coral pink dress that clung to her like plastic wrap. "What is this molasses hour? Maybe if you spent less time snooping in my drawers, you'd be better at something as basic as wiping the damn floor." Ellie turned her head slightly, blinking hard. Then came the slap, not to her face, but to her hand. A sharp sting of ceramic as Sadie smacked a dessert plate against her knuckles, knocking the rag from her grip. Gasps spidered through the room. Ellie flinched. She hadn't been touched like that in years. Not since. Ryan stood by the gift table, frozen. He stared at the string lights wrapped around the curtain rod. Anywhere but at his mother. Sadie gave a mocking shrug and turned back to her friends. "It's not elder abuse if she volunteers," she said with a dry laugh. A few of the guests tittered. The rest stayed quiet. Ellie slowly pushed herself up off the floor. Her knees cracked, bones stiff from cold tile and age. She didn't reach for the rag, didn't defend herself. She looked at Sadie's back, then over at Ryan. His hand was gripping the stem of his wine glass, so tightly his knuckles blanched. Still, he said nothing. Ellie's voice, when it came, was soft, almost gentle. "Is the mess clean enough for you now?" Sadie paused mid-sip of her mimosa, turned. "What?" Ellie didn't repeat herself. She bent slightly and set the rag down on the kitchen island with a strange grace, like she was offering it. Her fingers brushed the marble counter. A sticky ring from someone's drink clung to her palm. She wiped it on her skirt without thinking. "I'll let myself out," she said, quietly. Sadie scoffed, waving a hand. "Try not to trip on the way." Ellie walked past the rows of pastel balloons and the faux gold "she's about to pop" sign strung across the window. Her heels tapped slower than Sadie's, but each step felt heavier, final. Nobody followed her, not even Ryan. The front door clicked shut behind her. She stood on the porch, breath shaking. Sunlight spilled over the manicured lawn, too bright, too cheerful. Somewhere across the street, a lawnmower droned. She reached into her purse for her keys. They weren't there. Her hands trembled, not with nerves, but with something deeper, something older, something she'd buried for decades under marriage, motherhood, and duty. Humiliation has a taste. It's metallic, like blood in your mouth. And she'd tasted enough for a lifetime. She didn't cry. Instead, Ellie walked slowly down the driveway, every step burning into the soles of her feet. She passed Ryan's car. She saw her own reflection in the tinted window, lipstick faded, mascara smudged, hair pulled back into a too-tight bun. A woman made small over time. Something inside her shifted, not snapped, shifted. And that was worse, because a snap is quick and reckless. But a shift is patient. A shift waits. The rain came that night, soft, steady, a whisper on the roof of the ranch-style home Ellie hadn't redecorated in 15 years. She sat cross-legged on the living room floor, an old shoebox beside her, her checkbook ledger balanced on one thigh, her glasses pushed halfway down her nose. The house was too quiet. Always was after she came home from Ryan and Sadie's. She flipped the page. $3,200, Ryan's braces, 2003, $9,000, tuition, spring semester, UIUC, $7,500, wedding photography deposit, paid in cash. Her pen tapped the armrest beside her. 1, 2, 3, beats. Next page. She rubbed the heel of her hand against her temple, smearing the faint trace of mascara she hadn't wiped off completely. The dining room light buzzed overhead. She didn't bother turning on anything else. $40,000. Down payment for their house. Temporary help, Sadie said. $175. Wedding dress from that boutique in Charleston. Paid in full the day the card reader crashed. Ellie's throat tightened, not from emotion. She'd already burned through that. This was something cleaner, harder, like stone forming where soft tissue used to be. The front door creaked. She didn't flinch. Come in. Denise stepped inside, kicking off her shoes before she even crossed the threshold. She carried a 6-pack of hard cider and a plastic takeout bag that leaked soy sauce. Didn't want to call. Figured you'd say no. Ellie managed half a smile. You figured right. Denise crouched beside her, glancing at the chaos on the floor. What's all this? Ellie handed her a folded receipt. Its ink half faded. Nursery furniture, $2,195. All cherrywood. Her mother hated it. Denise raised an eyebrow. Paid by you? She never even said thank you. Ellie shrugged. But that's not the part that bothers me. Denise waited. Ellie exhaled. She's rewritten the story. In her mind, I owe her something. I'm the problem, the outsider, the burden. You're his mother, Denise said softly. Ellie looked down at the growing pile. Not anymore. Not like that. The silence stretched between them. Rain ticking the windows like soft static. You okay? Denise finally asked. Ellie didn't answer right away. She capped her pen, slid it neatly into the spine of her ledger, and rested her palm flat against the column of totals. I'm better now, she said, and it wasn't a lie. Good, Denise nodded. Because I've seen this phase before, and it either ends in closure or a courtroom. Ellie laughed. Not bitter, just tired. Why not both? Denise grinned. Spicy. Ellie lifted a yellow legal pad and began tallying. No fluff, just facts. $108,620.37. Give or take. Give, mostly. She set the pen down and stared at the number until it stopped being just math. Until it became something with weight, with leverage. You want the name of a lawyer who doesn't blink? Denise asked. Ellie's eyes didn't move. Yes. Denise pulled out her phone. Family law? Financial? Someone who knows how to handle ungrateful adult children and the women who puppet them. Denise scrolled without hesitation. Oh, I got just the woman. She doesn't blink, breathe, or apologize. Ellie didn't nod, didn't smile, just sat back, palms flat on the carpet like she was grounding herself to the earth. I never wanted war, she said quietly. But if it's already been declared, Denise offered. Ellie finished it for her. Then I'll choose the battlefield. The law office didn't look like revenge. It looked like a spa, muted gray walls, lavender diffuser mist, a live edge wood table in the waiting area that probably cost more than Ellie's entire dining room set. The receptionist barely looked 22 and offered tea instead of water. Ellie declined. Denise was already seated when she arrived, her knee bouncing in that nervous way it did when she wasn't sure how something would go. "You sure you want to do this?" she asked, eyes scanning Ellie's face. "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't." Denise nodded slowly. This isn't small claims court." "Good," Ellie said. Neither was the down payment on their house. The office door opened, and a woman stepped out. Tall, sharp in every detail, tailored pants, bone-colored blouse, not a hair out of place. Her presence didn't ask for respect. It expected it. "Megan Calloway," she said, extending a hand. "Ellie, right?" "Yes. Come on back." The office smelled faintly of citrus and control. Megan closed the door behind them, gestured toward a pair of low armchairs, and took her seat across from Ellie with a quiet authority that made Ellie sit straighter. "Denise gave me a heads up. I reviewed everything you sent last night." Ellie opened the folder on her lap, but Megan held up a hand. "No need. I've got it all right here." She tapped her tablet, then looked directly at Ellie. "First of all, this isn't generosity. This is unsecured lending. You've kept meticulous records. That ledger alone is better documentation than some business loans." Ellie blinked. "It was just bookkeeping, for my own sanity." "Good instincts," Megan said. "Now, about that incident at the shower." Ellie shifted slightly. "It's not why I'm here." "No, but it matters." Megan's voice didn't rise. "Because that slap? That's not just disrespect. That qualifies as elder abuse under Illinois statute, especially when paired with financial exploitation. It gives us standing." Ellie sat still, hands folded. She didn't like that word, elder, but she liked that it had teeth when she needed it. "I'm not trying to bankrupt them," she said carefully. "I just want them to remember where it all came from." Megan smiled, just the corner of her mouth. It wasn't friendly, it was surgical. "Then we'll do both." Ellie raised an eyebrow. "We'll remind them," Megan continued, "by making it formal. I can issue demand letters for repayment, attach a lien to the house if necessary. And if they try to argue it was a gift, we cite coercion, emotional manipulation, public humiliation. You're not some estranged relative. You're the one who kept them afloat. They'll say it was out of love. Then let's test how deep that love really goes, under oath." Ellie felt her pulse in her fingertips. Megan slid a short stack of papers across the desk. "This is an authorization to proceed with formal demand. It doesn't initiate a lawsuit yet, but it puts them on legal notice. Once this is signed, I contact them directly." Ellie stared at the papers for a long moment. Her eyes flicked to the space where her name was already printed. Black ink, no nonsense. "This'll change everything," she said softly. "It already has," Megan replied. "This is just the part where they realize it." Denise touched Ellie's arm gently. "You don't have to sign right now." Ellie didn't move for a moment. Then, quietly, she reached into her purse and pulled out the same pen she'd used to log every one of those expenses. It felt almost ceremonial. She signed. Megan nodded once. Efficient. "I'll draft the letters today. They'll be in Sadie and Ryan's inboxes by morning." Ellie leaned back, something between breath and release leaving her lungs. It didn't feel like triumph. Not yet, but it felt like motion. As they stood to leave, Megan added, "Just so you know, if they respond aggressively, we can escalate. And I won't advise you to settle. You've spent too much already." Ellie turned back at the door. "I'm done settling." The ring light washed Sadie in soft pink, bouncing perfectly off the glimmer on her cheekbones. A wall of pastel gift bags framed her backdrop. Above her head, a cursive vinyl banner read, "Building Babies Brand." "Hey, fam," she chirped into the camera, resting one manicured hand on her bump and the other on a tower of diaper boxes. "We're at 348 subscribers. Don't forget to hit that follow so you can unlock the gender reveal at 500. Ryan hovered just off screen, holding a baby blue balloon bouquet like it personally offended him. His eyes darted to the iPad on the coffee table, where notifications popped like popcorn. Then the doorbell rang. Sadie rolled her eyes but kept her smile intact. "Hold that thought, cuties. I think the bassinet delivery just landed." She padded to the door, still on camera, and flung it open with the flair of someone who thought everything in life should come in influencer packaging. A woman in slacks handed her an envelope. Sadie accepted it, distracted. "Thanks, hon. Can you bring the box in too?" But the woman didn't move. Just nodded, turned, and walked back to a nondescript gray sedan parked across the street. Sadie frowned and shut the door. "Ryan, what the hell is this?" He walked over, balloon strings still tangled around his wrist. "What's it say?" She tore the envelope open without sitting down, reading aloud. "Formal notice of demand for repayment under Illinois Civil Code. $108,120.37. Restitution for financial support incurred between the years of 2003 and 2024. She stopped. Her mouth opened, then closed. Ryan leaned in. "Is that from your mom?" "Yours," she snapped, jabbing a red-tipped finger at the page. "Your mother thinks we owe her 6 figures. For what? Babysitting our cat?" Ryan swallowed. "Didn't she pay for the down payment on the house?" "She gifted it." Sadie threw the envelope onto the coffee table like it was diseased. "This is insane. She's delusional, like clinically." "She wrote loan on some of the check memos," Ryan muttered. "I remember thinking it was weird at the time." Sadie turned on him. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I didn't think she'd weaponize it 20 years later." They both stared at the letter for a beat. Then Sadie burst out laughing. "Oh my God, I can't. This is comedy. She's actually coming for us like we're criminals. I mean, public humiliation and emotional coercion? Did she copy-paste that off Law and Order?" Ryan rubbed his temples. "Sadie, this is a real letter. From an actual law firm. They're giving us 15 days to respond." She waved him off and turned back to the camera, putting the iPad back on its stand. "All right, guys? Sorry about that little hiccup. We just had a hater try to manifest a lawsuit. Anyway, back to the Pampers Pyramid. 2 hours later, Megan filed the petition. It wasn't a lawsuit, yet. Just a request for official verification of loan status under civil procedure. But it was enough to make the courthouse docket. Enough to rattle someone who thought being cruel at a baby shower came with 0 consequences. Meanwhile, Denise's Facebook post dropped like a sugar-coated grenade. "Respect your elders. They carry ledgers." Not all gifts. Some come with receipts. Within minutes, Sadie's HOA group chat exploded. First with emojis, then with actual questions. "Wait, is this about you? Did Ellie really pay for your wedding? I heard something about a legal notice. Oof. You okay, babe?" Sadie typed, deleted, retyped. Then posted, "Lol, no drama. Just a misunderstanding. Love my mill." The comments flooded in like syrup, slow, sticky, too sweet to be sincere. But the damage was done. By sunset, she'd been removed as admin of the River Creek Moms Given Swap page. Temporarily, they said. The invitation to co-host the Stroller Expo went to a mom who vlogged less and volunteered more. The yoga instructor she tagged in every post didn't return her texts. And someone, she didn't know who, emailed the sponsorship brand repping her nursery livestream. The one with the $5,000 contract pending. All they sent was a screenshot of the legal notice. Back at the law office, Megan sat at her desk, watching the social unravel in real time. She didn't smile. She just opened a new file and titled it, "Ryan and Sadie Caldwell vs. Ellie Caldwell, Potential Civil Action." Then she clicked her pen and waited. It started as a whisper in the private River Creek HOA Facebook group. A new post, no caption, just a video, 7 seconds long. No one knew who uploaded it, not at first. But someone had recorded the moment Sadie smacked Ellie's hand away with that dessert plate. The clatter, the gasps, the flinch. Then a single frame, Ellie kneeling, Sadie towering, guests frozen, phones raised. The caption arrived 10 minutes later. Who slaps their MIL at their own baby shower? The comment thread mushroomed within the hour. Wait, this is Sadie from the Building Babies brand page? Unforgivable. I've never been so embarrassed to follow someone. Someone screen recorded the post, uploaded it to TikTok, then Instagram, then a parenting subreddit. By morning, it had 2.4 million views. At 9:06 a.m., Ellie posted her first public statement on her dormant Facebook account. No hashtags, no filters. I didn't ask for this attention, but I also didn't deserve the silence I've endured for years. I chose dignity, not silence. 12 words, that's all it took. The comments poured in, hundreds, then thousands. You're not alone, Ellie. We see you, and we stand with you. You carried them, and they buried you, not anymore. A grandmother in Phoenix reposted it with a thread about being pushed out of her own son's life. A divorce lawyer stitched the video and explained elder abuse statutes in 5 states. A viral therapist weighed in with a breakdown of family enmeshment and covert gaslighting. Ellie didn't reply to any of it. She sat on her porch that morning, coffee cooling beside her, Denise reading headlines aloud with the kind of slow satisfaction usually reserved for courtroom victories or lottery wins. Sadie's boutique just got dropped by 3 sponsors, she said, scrolling. 2 of them cited brand misalignment. Ellie didn't look up. That one was built on borrowed grace anyway. Comments on her Instagram are off. Of course they are, Denise grinned. She can filter her feed. She can't filter the truth. Ryan found out at work. He was supposed to be prepping slides for a partner meeting at the firm, but his badge wouldn't scan at the 4th floor access point. He tried again. Nothing. The building's security guard raised a hand and gestured toward the elevator. HR wants to see you. The meeting was short. They didn't fire him yet. But they used all the right words. Image sensitivity, pending litigation, external optics. There was nothing in writing, but by the time he left, his company profile was scrubbed of all leadership designations. Internal shift, they called it, until things settled down. When he got home, Sadie was on the floor of the nursery, surrounded by empty brand boxes and a growing pile of pastel tissue paper. They dropped everything, she said, voice flat. No affiliate links, no baby formula codes, not even the car seat review. Ryan stared at her. It's because of the video. No, she snapped. It's because your mother has a lawyer who's weaponizing public perception. This is character assassination. She didn't post the video. No, but she posted the statement. That's all it takes now, just one carefully crafted line, and the whole world eats it up. Ryan rubbed his face. So what now? Sadie's eyes narrowed. We fight back. We go public. We tell our side. Ryan didn't respond. He just picked up a pacifier from the floor and turned it over in his hand, like it might answer for him. Back at the law office, Megan moved swiftly. The footage, now viral, gave her everything she needed. A clear public act of humiliation, coupled with the check memos and the growing online narrative of elder disrespect. She filed a civil motion for emotional distress damages, attaching clips, timelines, and expert witness statements. She knew what she was doing. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about precedent. She picked up her phone and called Ellie. It's filed, she said. They'll be served in 48 hours. Thank you, Ellie replied. Then, after a beat, he used to ask for my help with algebra homework. Now he won't look me in the eye. They never do, Megan said, until there's paperwork. Late that night, Sadie opened her DMs. Buried among the hate and pity were a few old names. Girls from high school. Influencers she thought were friends. One had sent a voice note. Sadie hesitated, then hit play. I warned you years ago. Ellie was the quiet kind of woman, the kind you never see coming. Sadie stared into the soft blue glow of the screen. For the first time in weeks, she didn't say a word. The courtroom was cold in the way government buildings always were. Sterile walls, humming fluorescents, the faint echo of heels against linoleum. Sadie wore cream, Ellie wore navy. Neither looked at the other. Sadie's attorney rose first. Your Honor, this countersuit is based on intentional interference, she said, glancing at her notes. My client's marriage and livelihood have been maliciously sabotaged by the plaintiff, who happens to be her mother-in-law. We believe Mrs. Caldwell's actions were fueled by resentment, not justice. Ellie didn't flinch. Sadie sat tall, lips glossed, bump visible beneath her silk blouse. She looked polished, poised, perfectly curated. Like the betrayal was hers, Megan rose next. Your Honor, the defense is welcome to claim sabotage, but the truth is simpler. This isn't spite, it's debt recovery. My client has receipts, literally. She opened a thick folder and laid it flat on the table with calm precision. Itemized transactions, cleared checks, and digital transfers, all logged over 2 decades, including one from 3 years ago with a memo that reads, Megan lifted a highlighted page. Pay you back when we can. Love you, Sadie. There it was, in cursive, in ink. The courtroom air changed. The judge leaned forward. Miss Calloway, this level of documentation is frankly impressive, borderline forensic. Sadie's lips parted, but her lawyer placed a hand on her arm before she could speak. Ryan sat behind them, 1 row from the front. He didn't look at his mother. He didn't look at Sadie. He just stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, as if the concrete floor beneath his chair might offer a simpler truth than the one unraveling before him. Court recessed after 90 minutes. Ellie stepped into the hallway, breath steady but shallow. She wasn't trembling. Not this time. Megan walked beside her, shoulder to shoulder. Neither woman spoke until Ryan appeared at the end of the corridor, alone. He walked slowly, stopping a few feet in front of them. I just wanted to say. He looked up, eyes rimmed with sleepless guilt. I didn't know it would go this far. Ellie didn't blink. It went this far the day no one stopped her hand. Ryan ran a hand down his face. Can we talk privately? Just us? No. Megan stepped back, but Ellie didn't move. If you have something to say it. I'm not choosing sides, Mom. You already did. Silence. I'm willing to settle, he said, voice low. I'll sign whatever you want. Just make this stop before it gets worse. Ellie looked at him, really looked at him. This was the boy she had taught to tie his shoes, the one who cried when he scraped his knees, the one who once called her the strongest person in the world for pulling a splinter from his thumb. And now he stood there, hands open, still hoping to choose comfort over accountability. No, Ryan swallowed. You don't mean that. I do, she said. And I'll mean it tomorrow. Later, Denise met Ellie outside the courthouse with a takeout coffee and no small talk. You're halfway through, she said, handing her the cup. Don't blink. Ellie stared out at the street. Pigeons flapped from a power line. A father held his daughter's hand as they waited for the light to change. She didn't blink, Ellie said softly. Not when she slapped me. Not when she lied. Not even when she made me feel like a burden in my own son's life. Denise didn't interrupt. Ellie sipped her coffee. I used to think forgiveness meant letting go, but maybe it just means no longer handing them the knife. Denise smiled. You're not handing them anything anymore. Ellie's phone buzzed in her coat pocket. One new email. She pulled it out. Subject: Discovery update. New message recovered from Megan. She clicked. At the bottom of the attached file was a partial message thread between Sadie and a boutique brand manager. We'll ride this out. She's old, bitter, and irrelevant. Worst case, we play the victim. I'm pregnant. No one cancels a pregnant woman. Ellie read it once, then again. Denise leaned in. Is that admissible? Ellie's jaw locked. Oh, she said. It will be. The paperwork hit at 9:02 a.m. Megan filed the lien against Ryan and Sadie's home quietly but effectively, $40,000 plus interest, citing unpaid personal loans applied directly toward the property's down payment. It wasn't eviction, it wasn't foreclosure, but it was leverage, and it was legal. By noon, the clerk's stamp had been processed. By 1, Sadie knew. She went live on Instagram 2 hours later, mascara slightly smeared, hoodie drawn up like a shield. "She's trying to take our babies home," she whispered to 412 live viewers. Her hand rested on her bump like a punctuation mark. "My own mother-in-law. I'm 8 months pregnant," and she filed a lien. She wiped at her cheek, unnecessarily. "She knows what this house means to us. We built our lives here." But this time, the comment section didn't echo back the empathy she was fishing for. "You slapped her on camera. It's not her fault you borrowed half your life. Don't cry now. You had no tears when you mocked her. Pregnancy isn't a shield. Accountability isn't abuse." Sadie ended the stream early. The phone buzzed long after she set it face down. Meanwhile, Ellie stood in the backyard of her own home, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. The grass was freshly cut. The air smelled like damp earth and quiet resolve. "Did it go through?" she asked. On the other end, Megan confirmed. "Filed, clean, public." "And they've been notified?" "This morning. We sent copies to their email and their attorney. You'll get a hard copy for your records." Ellie didn't smile, but her breath came easier. Megan continued, voice level. "We're not foreclosing, not yet. This is pressure, nothing more." Ellie traced a finger down the ceramic side of her mug. "It's a house I paid to get them into, and they never once invited me in like I belonged." "You do now," Megan said, "at least on paper." By sunset, Denise pulled into Ellie's driveway with a bottle of mid-shelf red and a bag of cheese straws. "You hear?" she said, handing over her phone. Zillow just knocked 9% off their property value. The scandal made the HOA newsletter and the local Facebook moms group. Realtor blogs are calling it a contaminated listing. Ellie didn't gloat. She just poured 2 glasses, steady as ever. "I never wanted the house," she said quietly. "I wanted to be treated like someone who mattered." Denise raised her glass. "You're not invisible anymore." At that same hour, Ryan sat in his parked car outside Ellie's house. Engine off. Lights dimmed. A grocery bag of frozen lasagna sat in the passenger seat, forgotten. He didn't knock. He just stared at the front porch. The familiar wind chimes, the hanging fern. Everything that once meant home before it got complicated. He finally texted, "Ryan, can we talk? Just us, please." Ellie didn't respond right away. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, her reply lit up his screen. "Ellie, quiet's what got us here." He stared at the words, the period at the end, no wiggle room, no room at all. Inside, Ellie read his text again, slowly, then powered off her phone. "You okay?" Denise asked, already knowing. Ellie stared out the window. "She wants to weaponize motherhood now," she said, as if growing a child excuses destroying one. Denise said nothing. She just passed the bottle back. Ellie drank. No toasts, no speeches, just quiet strength. And this time, it belonged to her. Ellie sat in the WGLY studio chair, her hands folded loosely in her lap. She wore a navy cardigan over a white blouse, simple gold studs in her ears. No makeup, no script, just stillness. The host, a warm-voiced woman named Trina Masters, gave her a nod as the on-air light turned red. "We're back with respect across generations," Trina said. "This week's guest is someone whose quiet strength has sparked a national conversation. Her name is Ellie Caldwell." Ellie gave a soft nod into the mic. "Good morning." Trina leaned forward, voice low but focused. "Ellie, we've all seen the video. We've read the filings. What made you finally step forward?" Ellie didn't rush. "I think I stopped waiting for an apology that was never coming," she said gently. "I realized that silence isn't the same as peace, and that letting people walk all over you doesn't make you kind. It just makes you easy to forget." The studio went still. Trina blinked, nodded. "And what do you want people to take from all this?" Ellie's eyes didn't waver. That no one should have to earn basic respect. Not with money, not with sacrifice, not even with blood ties. By lunchtime, Sadie's boutique had 437 new one-star reviews. Some cited vague issues with customer service. Others quoted Ellie's interview word for word. Letting people walk all over you doesn't make you kind. I won't buy from a business that shames elders. If you want to be respected, start by respecting the people who built the floor you stand on. Within hours, a post circulated on LinkedIn. From trend to tarnish, a cautionary tale in brand ethics. Sadie's name was in the headline. The photo was a still from the baby shower video. Back at the law office, Megan looked up from her screen, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes," she said, voice cool but direct. "My client has decided to donate any recovered funds to a scholarship program for public school teachers. In her words, because the people who give everything deserve something back." She paused, listening. No, she won't be available for further comment. The work speaks for itself. She hung up, then smiled. In Ellie's living room, Denise stood by the kitchen counter, taping a flyer to a cardboard box full of baked goods. "Do you think this fundraiser's too small scale?" she asked. "I mean, I know we're just doing cookies and cards, but maybe we should throw in a raffle." "It's perfect," Ellie said. "Keep it simple. Keep it honest." "God," Denise said, tying off a bundle of ribbon. "If I knew revenge came with cinnamon rolls, I would have started this a decade ago." Ellie chuckled. For once, it wasn't bitter, just warm. 2 days later, Ellie's inbox pinged. Subject: National Elder Justice Initiative. Request for feature. The email was short but sincere. They had seen her interview. They had read her filings. They wanted to profile her for a national campaign on intergenerational respect and financial dignity. Ellie read it twice. She didn't cry, but her hands trembled the way they used to when she first learned to say no. Meanwhile, the HA board called an emergency meeting at the clubhouse. It wasn't on the usual quarterly schedule. No refreshments, no wine spritzers, just printed agendas and sharp looks. The discussion lasted 40 minutes. The vote? 10 minutes more. By the time Sadie received the email, the decision had already been logged. Due to conduct unbecoming of a community representative and repeated ethical concerns, your standing as a committee liaison for River Creek HOA is hereby revoked. Attached were screenshots, quotes, a vote tally. Sadie didn't finish reading. That night, Ellie stood alone in her kitchen, sipping chamomile tea while the house settled around her. Her laptop sat open on the table, the scholarship paperwork half-filled. The TV played low in the background, some detective show she wasn't really watching. She was halfway through a form when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She let it ring once, twice. Then she answered. "Ellie Caldwell?" "Yes." "This is Janine. I'm the one who filmed the video." Ellie said nothing. "I've been thinking about reaching out," the woman continued, voice tight. "I didn't know it would go viral. I couldn't watch that happen to you and do nothing." Ellie sat down slowly, her grip on the phone relaxed. "I wasn't sure if you'd hate me for it," Janine added. "But if I were in your shoes, I'd want to know there's more." Ellie's voice, when it came, was calm. "Go on." Ellie read the message 3 times before she responded. "Ryan, I'm sorry. I didn't stand up for you. I should have stopped it. All of it." It arrived at 2:11 a.m., hours after the HOA vote, long after the fundraiser had ended, and right before her tea had gone cold again. She didn't reply with anger. Not anymore. "Ellie, what are you afraid of?" The dots appeared almost immediately, then disappeared, then returned. "Ryan, Sadie, her anger. It never ends when it starts. You know that." By morning, Megan had already seen the message. "If he's cracking, we use it," she said. But carefully, no pressure, just opportunity. They sat in her office, blinds drawn, a manila folder of motions between them. "You think he'll flip?" Ellie asked, not judgmental, just tired. "He doesn't have to flip," Megan said. "Just tell the truth. From a neutral angle, frame it as clarification, not loyalty." She slid a form forward, a financial affidavit. Timeline of contributions. He's the only one who can confirm the context of those checks before Sadie can spin them. Ellie studied the form. Her thumb traced the edge of the paper, slow and deliberate. I don't want to break him. You're not, Megan said. She already did. You're just helping him come up for air. Ryan didn't knock when he arrived at Megan's office. He just walked in like a man already braced for the blow. He looked thinner, not visibly, but something about his eyes. Sunken, unsure. I'm not here to pick sides, he said immediately. You're not, Megan said. You're here to describe what happened. That's it. He sat, swallowed, nodded once. The memo lines, the receipts, the timing, they're accurate, he said. And yeah, I remember her saying we'd pay my mom back. I just never thought she'd actually ask us to. Megan didn't blink. But she did. And Sadie knew that. She knew. And Sadie signed the checks? Ryan hesitated, then nodded. All of them. Megan slid the affidavit forward. Then this is your chance to set the record straight. He signed in silence. The scream tore through the cul-de-sac like a siren. You went behind my back? You told them I signed those checks? Sadie's voice was raw with fury, echoing off garage doors and garden fences. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains. A dog barked in the distance. One elderly man watering his roses turned off the hose midstream. Ryan stood in the driveway, shoulders stiff, hands at his sides. I didn't go behind your back, he said quietly. I told the truth. Sadie's face twisted. You're pathetic. You can't even protect your own wife and child. What do you think they're going to do? Congratulate you for selling out your family? I think, he said, eyes finally meeting hers. They might see me for the first time. Sadie stepped forward, chest heaving. You'll regret this. But Ryan didn't move. He didn't apologize. He didn't lower his eyes. He just turned, walked back into the house, and closed the door behind him. Megan sent the video that evening. One of the neighbors had filmed the confrontation. No shaking, no commentary. Just Sadie's voice. Her rage, her threat, her unraveling. Ellie watched it once, sitting at her kitchen table with the volume low. Then she played it again. This time, she didn't hear Sadie. She heard Ryan. The man she'd raised, the boy she thought she'd lost, standing still while the storm broke around him. When Denise dropped by with lemon bars and court transcripts, Ellie didn't say much, just handed her the phone and pressed play. Denise watched, then let out a slow breath. He did it, she said. He finally woke up. Ellie didn't smile, not yet. He was never weak, she said, just buried. The photo dropped at 8:17 a.m. A soft focus shot of Sadie on her porch, bathed in golden light. One hand cradled her stomach. The other rested gently on the railing, as if she were just pausing, just breathing. The caption read, Every mother deserves peace. Praying for calm through this difficult season. Grace under pressure. Baby boy on the way. By 9 a.m., the comments were piling up. You're glowing. Mama. No woman should be dragged through court while pregnant. This community stands with you. Don't let the hate win. Ellie didn't respond. Neither did Megan. But Denise walked into Megan's office 10 minutes later, holding her phone like it was contaminated. She's playing the baby card, she said flatly. Tug the heartstrings special. Megan didn't flinch. She's laying the foundation for sympathy. Emotional coercion, it's strategic, not maternal. She doesn't care about strategy, Denise muttered. She cares about control. Megan tapped her pen twice against her desk, then opened a drawer. Let's see how it holds up under oath. They didn't wait. The injunction was filed by noon. Manipulation through gestational status, the language read. Repeated attempts to frame legal accountability as harassment, despite prior contracts. The judge scheduled an emergency hearing. The courtroom was packed. Mostly HOA members, a few reporters, and Sadie's cousin from Florida, who kept dabbing her eyes as if someone had passed. Sadie wore a high-waisted pale blue dress, soft makeup, and a shawl that floated with every step. Ellie sat 3 rows back. Megan stood at the table, unflinching. "She is not on trial for being pregnant," Megan began. "She is being held to account for breach of contract, misrepresentation of funds, and tax negligence." Pregnancy does not erase a paper trail. Sadie shifted uncomfortably. Her hands never left her belly. When her attorney spoke, the tone was syrupy. "Your Honor, I don't believe this is about the finances anymore. It's about punishing a woman during the most vulnerable time of her life. The optics are brutal. The stress is dangerous. We ask that the legal pressure be delayed until postpartum for the health of both mother and child." The judge didn't blink. "This court doesn't operate on optics," she said, "and pregnancy does not immunize anyone from accountability. If anything, it raises the stakes." Injunction approved. This case moves forward. Sadie's expression cracked for just a second. She turned slightly toward the gallery, toward Ellie, and held the stare for a beat too long. Ellie didn't flinch. That night she wrote a letter, no email, no lawyer, just a white card, thick with weight. She signed it, sealed it, and hand-delivered it to Sadie's mailbox at dusk. "Sadie, your child will never owe me." "You will." "Ellie." Denise burst through Ellie's front door just before midnight, lemon bars in hand and hair still damp from a rushed shower. "You mailed her a warning." "I delivered it." Ellie was calm. Composed. Denise stared. "You've officially scared me, and I'm proud, but mostly scared." Ellie didn't smile. She stirred her tea instead. "She keeps shifting the frame. It's always someone else hurting her. Never her causing harm. That baby isn't a shield. It's a distraction." "She won't stop," Denise said quietly. "Even when it's over, she'll find another angle, another weakness to twist. Then we close the gaps." Ellie met her eyes. No more loose ends. 2 days later, the IRS arrived at Sable and Sage. Sadie's boutique had always smelled like eucalyptus and overpriced fig candles. But that morning, the windows were taped with seizure notices, and the door wore a bright orange sign, "Business closed," due to outstanding federal and state tax liabilities. Sadie stood outside for an hour, just stood there, in heels too tall for waiting, with a belly too round to pace. No one came to help. No one offered tissues or support. The neighbors scrolled past the scene on their phones, read the headlines, and kept walking. Denise saw the footage on a local news stream. She didn't comment, just turned the volume down and handed the phone to Ellie without a word. Ellie watched in silence. Her fingers didn't move. Her expression didn't change. But inside her chest, something cold gave way to something sharp. This wasn't a victory, it was a fracture. And it wasn't done widening. That evening, Megan found a plain manila envelope waiting on her porch. No postage, no handwriting, just her name in block letters. Inside, a single ultrasound photo. A scribbled post-it that read, "What if I give you the baby?" Megan sat down slowly on the steps, heart pounding like a war drum. Not because of the offer, but because of what Sadie might do next. The envelope came in a cream-colored box, hand-delivered by a courier who didn't wait for a signature. No note, no sender's name. Just the scent of jasmine clinging faintly to the cardboard. Inside, a check for $20,000. Ellie didn't touch it at first. She just stared at it sitting on her kitchen counter. The amount so laughably out of proportion, it might as well have been a dare. Megan arrived 15 minutes later, summoned by a text that simply read. She tried to buy silence. She picked up the check with gloved fingers, as if it might smudge her. No memo line, Megan noted, just the number. $20,000, Ellie said. That's half of what she owed, after twice the destruction. Megan folded the check neatly, slid it into her case like evidence. She thinks if she acts before the hearing, she still controls the narrative, that this is charity or mercy. Ellie's voice was dry. She doesn't know the difference. By morning, Megan had drafted a response. Not in legalese, not even on letterhead, just a single, typed sentence. full restitution, and a written apology submitted to the court, or we proceed with every charge to the full extent of the law. She left it in Sadie's mailbox herself. No knock, no confrontation, just closure, stapled and silent. That afternoon, the HOA held an emergency session. Megan was there, so was Denise. Ellie chose not to attend. Sadie showed up 5 minutes late, eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses, bump wrapped in cream cashmere. She sat in the back row and didn't speak. The vote wasn't close. Effective immediately, Sadie was barred from hosting, organizing, or sponsoring any HOA-sanctioned events. Her community access privileges were revoked indefinitely. One board member added, almost casually, "We also request she refrain from using photos of the neighborhood for promotional purposes. It's misleading." The gavel came down with finality. Sadie stood slowly. Her heels didn't click like they used to. She walked out without a word. "Want me to send flowers to the courthouse?" Denise asked that night, balancing a glass of wine and her sense of vindication. Ellie arched an eyebrow. "Are we celebrating or burying something?" "Bit of both," Denise said. "Maybe a white lily with a black ribbon, in remembrance of your public image." Ellie didn't laugh, but she didn't stop her either. "Send daisies," she said. "They last longer in water." Megan joined them just after 9, case files in hand, phone buzzing with new calendar alerts. "The damages hearing is set for Friday," she said, dropping into the armchair. "We go in with everything, ledgers, affidavits, neighborhood testimonials." Denise raised her glass. "Let's make it hurt." "No," Megan said. "Let's make it final." The morning before the hearing, Ellie found her front porch swept clean. The doormat straightened, flower pots realigned. Even the mailbox flag lowered gently, though no mail had arrived yet. At first she thought it was a neighbor's doing. A favor, maybe. Then she spotted the envelope tucked just behind the topiary. Same jasmine scent. Same ivory stationery. Inside, no check, no threats. Just a single line of handwriting in Sadie's script. Shaky and rushed. "Don't take it from him. He didn't ask for this." No signature, just a smear at the bottom where a drop of water, or maybe sweat, had blurred the ink. Ellie read it twice, then folded it back into the envelope and left it on the mantel, unopened to the others. Whatever Sadie meant by him, she hadn't meant Ryan, and Ellie knew it. That night, a neighbor texted Megan a blurry image. Sadie, standing outside the community clubhouse. The lights were off, the doors were locked. But she stood there anyway, just stood. In the middle of the lot, in a shawl too thin for the wind, staring at the building like it still belonged to her. Megan didn't forward it. She just set her alarm for court and added another bullet point to her outline. Entitlement is not a defense. But the next morning, as they stepped into the courthouse lobby, Denise froze mid-sentence. She pointed toward the clerk's window, where an officer stood speaking to the bailiff. In his hand, a sealed white envelope. The label read, "For the judge, from Sadie." Megan's expression didn't change, but her pace did. She crossed the lobby fast, heels clicking, eyes narrowing. Because whatever was in that envelope could shift everything. The video dropped the morning of the hearing, 7 minutes long, filmed in what looked like a professionally staged living room with white orchids, neutral pillows, and no trace of actual life. Sadie sat on the edge of a velvet chair, one hand on her belly, the other curled tightly around the armrest. Her eyes didn't shine. Her tone didn't shake. It started with a sigh. Not remorseful, resigned. "I've made mistakes, and I know people were hurt. This wasn't the version of myself I ever wanted to show my community." The apology continued, laced with passive phrasing. Some decisions were misunderstood. Some actions taken out of context. This was never meant to cause pain. Nowhere in the video did she say the word fraud. Nowhere did she say Ellie's name. And yet, by the end, her voice cracked, just once, and she glanced away from the camera as though the weight of the moment had finally reached her. But it was the wrong kind of crack. not from guilt, from calculation, because while the words said sorry, the eyes said hurry up and forgive me. The comments came fast. Wait, who exactly is she apologizing to? Is it me, or did she smirk around minute 4? No names, no facts, no remorse. PR cleanup, not atonement. She said the community 5 times. She never said Eleanor once. By 10 a.m., the court's media liaison confirmed. The video had been submitted as her formal apology. Denise texted a screenshot of the comment section to Megan with one word. Weaponized. Megan didn't respond. She was already inside the courtroom, arms crossed, notes stacked, waiting for the judge to take the bench. When the gavel fell, Sadie sat between 2 attorneys. Her shawl was gone. Her hair was slicked into a knot so tight it pulled at her cheekbones. Ellie wore slate gray. No makeup, no jewelry, just certainty. The judge spoke with precision. No warmth, no indulgence. A formal apology is not an accessory. It is a legal condition of agreement. Miss Addison's submission falls short of that standard. Sadie didn't blink. She just kept her eyes on the tabletop. Furthermore, the court recognizes a pattern of evasion, image manipulation, and misrepresentation that extends beyond the contracts in question. These were not isolated lapses. They were part of a sustained effort to control narrative while avoiding consequence. Megan stood. Your Honor, we submit that the behavior seen even after the injunction, including the performative video, is not contrition. It's coercion, an attempt to reframe culpability without repair. The judge nodded once, then ruled, full restitution awarded, 100, 400. Gasps rippled behind them. Denise exhaled softly. Ellie did not move. Sadie looked up, her face blank, then turned sharply to whisper something to her attorney, who immediately raised a procedural hand. The judge cut him off. The ruling stands. Gavel. Final. Megan packed her notes slowly, with care. Congratulations, the clerk whispered as she passed. That was clean. Outside the courthouse, the air smelled like fall. Denise looped her arm through Ellie's. So, how's it feel? Ellie stared out toward the parking lot, where leaves spun in little spirals of wind. Like I just stopped being invisible, she said. Megan joined them a moment later, sunglasses on, phone silent for once. You didn't just win, she said. You rewrote what elder dignity looks like. You didn't scream, you didn't smear, you just refused to disappear. Ellie gave her a long look, then a nod. Get the check cut, she said. I know where the first one's going. The check arrived by courier. No envelope this time, just a white folder with banking stamps and a release form. Ellie signed it in silence. By noon, she was inside the city library, walking past rows of worn books and rust-colored carpet toward the community development desk. A young man looked up from his laptop. Can I help you? Ellie handed over the check. I want it split into 3 grants for the adult education program. GED prep, ESL, and technical training. No plaques, no name tags. Just tell them it's for people who got told they were too late to change. He blinked. That's incredibly generous. Should I have someone call you for the paperwork? Ellie shook her head. I've already signed enough papers to last me 10 years. She left before anyone could thank her. That evening, Denise arrived with a bottle of red and a bag of groceries she had no intention of cooking. I saw Sadie's attorney storming out of a sushi place like someone canceled his Amex, she said, unloading the counter. How's that for ambiance? Ellie opened the wine, poured slowly. She'll resurface, she said. People like her don't disappear. They reinvent. She's not magic, Denise said. She's exposed. That apology was a wet tissue in a bonfire. Ellie lifted her glass. To wet tissues. Megan joined them late, but her smile was real. She filed an appeal. It won't go anywhere, but she's trying. Of course she is, Denise muttered. Can't end the act while the camera's still rolling. Ellie stepped onto the porch while the other 2 bickered over cheese knives. The evening was quiet, crisp, no jasmine, no envelopes. But just as she reached for the railing, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. She almost let it go. Almost. But then the voicemail notification appeared. She played it. I made the wrong enemy, Sadie's voice, small, frayed, and at the end before the click, something else. A baby crying in the background. Section 13. The baby she never deserved. 25 words. The baby's breath was warm against Ellie's collarbone. He was smaller than she imagined, swaddled in hospital white. His fist curled near his chin like he was mid-thought. The nursery lights were dim, filtered through pale green curtains. A faint lullaby played from a speaker in the ceiling, too soft to follow, just enough to settle the air. Ellie sat in the rocker, unmoving. Her hand cradled the baby's back, palm to the steady rhythm of new life. No nurses, no Sadie, just Ryan, standing by the window, looking thinner than she remembered and more awake than she'd ever seen him. I didn't know if you'd come, he said. Ellie didn't look up. You didn't ask. He nodded. Deserved that. He's not loud, Ryan said softly. Doesn't cry much unless he's hungry. Looks more like you than me. Ellie finally looked down. The baby blinked once, then settled again, his tiny mouth twitching in a sleep dream. Don't flatter me, she whispered. He's innocent. I never was. Ryan let out a breath that caught on something rough. I need to say this now, he said, before I start editing it to make it easier to hear. Ellie stayed quiet. I was a coward, Ryan said. Not just with her, with you, with the truth. I thought if I stayed silent, everything would settle, but all silence ever did was let her write the rules. Ellie didn't move, didn't breathe too loud. I'm leaving, he continued. Not running, leaving. I've got a friend from college, Caleb. He's got a place up in Glenbrook. I'm moving in this week. I filed for shared custody this morning. He stepped forward, not too close. I don't want him growing up thinking loyalty means letting people rot you from the inside. Ellie looked up. Her voice was low. Does she know? Ryan nodded. She screamed, threatened, said I'd never see him again. Then cried, then begged. He laughed once, bitter. She almost had me again. But this time, I saw it for what it was. Fear. She's not angry. She's scared. Ellie looked back down at the baby. So is he. The next morning, Ellie visited her lawyer. The office was cold with controlled air and thick carpeting. She sat across from a man with sharp glasses and no visible emotions. Same trust for my son, she said. But add a contingent provision for the child. Should anything happen to Ryan, I want his son protected. The lawyer nodded, scribbled. And the mother, Ellie's tone was steel. Excluded. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. By noon, the paperwork was notarized. When Ellie handed Denise the signed documents, she didn't expect commentary, but she got it anyway. You're dangerous with a notary, Denise said, fanning the will like it was a weapon. I'm fair, Ellie replied. That's what scares them. That night, Denise cooked for once. Real food, not just wine and crackers. Roast chicken, something with green beans. She refused to call it a celebration. Ellie poured them both tea instead of wine. We still have court dates ahead, she said. Custody, hearings. It's not over. No, Denise said, but the tide's turned. She's not holding the narrative anymore. You are. Ellie shook her head slowly. I don't want the narrative. I just want the quiet. They ate in silence for a while. Outside, the wind picked up. Leaves blew across the porch in tight spirals, the season shifting faster than expected. Denise looked up. You think she'll try to run? Ellie's eyes didn't move from her plate. If she does, she'll run out of people before she runs out of mistakes. Just before midnight, Ellie went back to the nursery. The house was quiet. Ryan had taken the baby to his new apartment earlier, but the rocker was still there, and so were the echoes. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, staring at the empty crib. Then she saw it. A manila envelope tucked just beneath the rocker. No name, no stamp. Just a smear of something, maybe lotion, maybe tears, across the seal. Ellie opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed. Formatted like a legal brief. But it wasn't from a lawyer, it was from Sadie. If I give up custody, can I leave the country without contest? At the bottom, handwritten in blue ink. Tell me what to sign. I'm done pretending. Ellie stared at it for a long time, then folded it back in half, slid it into her desk drawer, and locked it. Not out of mercy, out of strategy. Because Sadie had finally said the truth out loud, and now Ellie had it in writing. The baby's breath was warm against Ellie's collarbone. He was smaller than she imagined, swaddled in hospital white, his fist curled near his chin like he was mid-thought. The nursery lights were dim, filtered through pale green curtains. A faint lullaby played from a speaker in the ceiling, too soft to follow, just enough to settle the air. Ellie sat in the rocker, unmoving. Her hand cradled the baby's back, palm to the steady rhythm of new life. No nurses, no Sadie, just Ryan, standing by the window, looking thinner than she remembered, and more awake than she'd ever seen him. I didn't know if you'd come, he said. Ellie didn't look up. You didn't ask. He nodded. Deserved that. He's not loud, Ryan said softly. Doesn't cry much unless he's hungry. Looks more like you than me. Ellie finally looked down. The baby blinked once, then settled again, his tiny mouth twitching in a sleep dream. Don't flatter me, she whispered. He's innocent. I never was. Ryan let out a breath that caught on something rough. I need to say this now, he said, before I start editing it to make it easier to hear. Ellie stayed quiet. I was a coward, Ryan said. Not just with her, with you, with the truth. I thought if I stayed silent, everything would settle. But all silence ever did was let her write the rules. Ellie didn't move. Didn't breathe too loud. I'm leaving, he continued. Not running, leaving. I've got a friend from college, Caleb. He's got a place up in Glenbrook. I'm moving in this week. I filed for shared custody this morning. He stepped forward, not too close. I don't want him growing up thinking loyalty means letting people rot you from the inside. Ellie looked up. Her voice was low. Does she know? Ryan nodded. She screamed, threatened, said I'd never see him again, then cried, then begged. He laughed once, bitter. She almost had me again, but this time, I saw it for what it was, fear. She's not angry, she's scared. Ellie looked back down at the baby. So is he. The next morning, Ellie visited her lawyer. The office was cold with controlled air and thick carpeting. She sat across from a man with sharp glasses and no visible emotions. Same trust for my son, she said, but add a contingent provision for the child. Should anything happen to Ryan, I want his son protected. The lawyer nodded, scribbled. And the mother, Ellie's tone was steel, excluded. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. By noon, the paperwork was notarized. When Ellie handed Denise the signed documents, she didn't expect commentary, but she got it anyway. You're dangerous with a notary, Denise said, fanning the will like it was a weapon. I'm fair, Ellie replied. That's what scares them. That night, Denise cooked for once. Real food, not just wine and crackers. Roast chicken, something with green beans. She refused to call it a celebration. Ellie poured them both tea instead of wine. We still have court dates ahead, she said. Custody, hearings, it's not over. No, Denise said, but the tide's turned. She's not holding the narrative anymore. You are. Ellie shook her head slowly. I don't want the narrative. I just want the quiet. They ate in silence for a while. Outside, the wind picked up. Leaves blew across the porch in tight spirals, the season shifting faster than expected. Denise looked up. You think she'll try to run? Ellie's eyes didn't move from her plate. If she does, she'll run out of people before she runs out of mistakes. Just before midnight, Ellie went back to the nursery. The house was quiet. Ryan had taken the baby to his new apartment earlier, but the rocker was still there, and so were the echoes. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. staring at the empty crib. Then she saw it. A manila envelope tucked just beneath the rocker. No name, no stamp. Just a smear of something, maybe lotion, maybe tears, across the seal. Ellie opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed, formatted like a legal brief. But it wasn't from a lawyer. It was from Sadie. If I give up custody, can I leave the country without contest? At the bottom, handwritten in blue ink. Tell me what to sign. I'm done pretending. Ellie stared at it for a long time, then folded it back in half, slid it into her desk drawer, and locked it, not out of mercy, out of strategy. Because Sadie had finally said the truth out loud, and now Ellie had it in writing. The bell above the baby boutique door chimed with a soft metallic ring. Ellie stepped inside slowly, careful not to let the breeze pull the door too hard behind her. The scent was different now. No more overworked fig candles and overbearing eucalyptus. Just clean linen and lavender. Neutral, unassuming. She walked past the pram display and paused in front of the same table where she'd once been ignored. The same table where Sadie had held court, all smiles and sideways insults, while Ellie stood silent with a registry list in her hands. Now, the clerk behind the counter looked up, recognized her, and straightened. "You're Ms. Walsh, right?" the young woman asked, stepping forward with her hands clasped politely. "You're the one who stood up for yourself." Ellie didn't correct her, didn't explain that she hadn't stood up for herself. She'd stood up for the version of herself who'd once stood for everyone else. The girl nodded again, gently. "You changed a lot around here. People pay attention now, to how they're treated, to who's listening." Ellie gave her a soft smile. Good. She didn't stay long, just long enough to buy a cotton onesie, a board book, and a pack of hand-stitched bibs. Neutral gray, no branding. No performance, just preparation. Later that afternoon, Ellie stepped into the library. She wasn't planning to stop, but something pulled her toward the adult education wing, past the donated books, past the test prep shelves, to a simple metal plaque on the wall, brushed bronze with black lettering, in honor of those who raised without return. Donated by Eleanor Walsh. She stood in front of it longer than she expected, not because she needed the recognition, but because for once, someone else had written her name down without asking her to earn it first. By sunset, she was on the porch. The baby rested against her chest, wrapped tight in a soft yellow blanket. Breath slow and steady like a rhythm she never knew she'd miss. She rocked slowly, the creak of the chair keeping time as she read aloud from a faded storybook. His tiny hand curled around her finger halfway through the second page. She didn't stop reading, didn't dare. Denise appeared like she always did, uninvited but never unwelcome, with 2 iced coffees and a bag of biscotti she pretended were for sharing. "You're still keeping that ledger?" she asked, nodding to the notebook beside Ellie's rocker. Ellie didn't hide it, just tapped the closed cover gently. "Only to remember the day I started writing my name in pen, not pencil," Denise whistled. "That's a bumper sticker if I ever heard one." "Put it on your car," Ellie said, "and people will think you found Jesus at a Staples." They both laughed softly, careful not to wake the baby. The light was golden now, the kind of golden that only comes at the end of something long, the kind that lingers like reward. Denise leaned against the porch rail, sipping her coffee. "You ever think about what started it? Like, the exact moment?" Ellie didn't answer right away. She rocked slowly, eyes focused on the edge of the yard, where the grass met the sidewalk. Then she spoke, voice steady and clear. "At her baby shower," Ellie said, "my daughter-in-law slapped me in public and screamed, 'Lazy old woman, clean faster!' Denise blinked. Ellie didn't break gaze. So I got up. She reached down, adjusted the baby's blanket, and took back everything I gave her. The conference room smelled like dry paper and burnt coffee. No judge, no gavel, just the slow, measured dissection of what used to be a family. Sadie sat across from Ryan, her blouse buttoned too high, her posture too straight. Every inch of her was styled for control, but her hands trembled. The mediator, a woman in a navy suit with years behind her eyes, kept her tone neutral. Shared custody, alternating weeks with rotating weekends and holidays. Any attempt to interfere with the agreed schedule results in immediate review, Ryan nodded. He didn't look at Sadie. Sadie didn't move at all. Additionally, the mediator continued. Ms. Eleanor Walsh will be granted legal visitation rights as the child's grandmother. This motion is approved under the state's exception for cases involving documented emotional or psychological abuse by a custodial parent. Sadie's chair creaked. She blinked fast but said nothing. The paperwork was signed without a single protest. Not because Sadie agreed, but because she had nothing left to leverage. Outside the room, the courthouse hallway stretched wide and sterile, filled with the sound of muffled heels and low murmurs. Ellie stood near the window, holding her copy of the agreement, eyes trained on the skyline. Sadie caught up to her before Ryan did. "You win," she spat. "Is that what this was all about?" Ellie didn't turn. Sadie's voice cracked. "Why are you doing this to me?" Ellie finally faced her, calm, steady, done. "I'm not doing anything to you," she said. "I'm just done doing for you." Sadie opened her mouth, then closed it again. And then, like something inside her snapped loose, she crumpled onto the bench across the hall, elbows on knees, face in hands. Ryan watched from a distance, arms crossed. He didn't go to her. Neither did Ellie, not anymore. By the next morning, the online threads had shifted. The same commenters who once defended Sadie were now dissecting every timestamp, every blurred photo, every unfinished sentence in her apology. She never even said Ellie's name. You can't gaslight a court record. All this, and Ellie still didn't try to keep the baby from her. Megan forwarded a snapshot of a local parenting forum. Thread title: "That grandmother in the hearings? A lesson in grace with boundaries." Denise read it out loud while rearranging flowers in Ellie's foyer. "You're basically a mythic figure now," she said. "You want me to get you a cape?" Ellie shook her head, but her eyes didn't deny the satisfaction. "I don't want reverence," she said. "Just air that's finally mine to breathe." 3 days later, Ellie received a thick envelope with HOA letterhead. Inside, a vote summary, a reinstatement notice, and an apology, not from Sadie this time, but from the board itself. Her event access was restored. Full privileges, no restrictions, no one knocked, no one celebrated. But when Ellie walked past the community clubhouse that evening, she didn't look away like she used to. She looked straight at it and nodded. Like something unfinished had finally been closed. That night, the nursery was warm with lamplight. The crib was still empty. Ryan wouldn't bring the baby again until Friday, but Ellie had left the rocker turned just slightly toward the window, the way the sun would hit in the mornings. She sat with her tea, Denise nearby flipping through a binder of recipe clippings she'd never cook. "I heard she's trying to sell the boutique building," Denise said casually. "Word is she's leaving town, maybe the country." Ellie didn't flinch. "She'll resurface. They always do." "Not here," Denise said. "Not anymore." Ellie looked down at her tea, then up at the window. A car idled at the corner. Lights off, engine running. Too far to see the driver, but not too far to guess. Ellie set her cup down gently. "I think," she said, "she wants one more moment before she disappears."